G'day everyone, it's Matt from Aurarum, and just a quick run through today on why is my hot end leaking all over my prints. And generally the response is something pretty simple, and that is these two parts are not together, and the filament has the ability to be able to go through the heat break and into the nozzle, and in between those 2 points it oozes out and comes out the hot end. So we're going to run you through really quickly on the best way to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So how do I replace my nozzle? So assuming that this is fitted to your printer and you haven't moved it when you've removed your old nozzle, it's going to look something like this. And this is your replacement nozzle which is going in. We want this to be aligned in the printer how it came from the factory, so whether it's sideways, and again we're assuming that we've got a block here, it might be this way, might be this way. On yours it may even be that your block goes this way if you haven't got a volcano hot end like this one. Then the next step is to fit your nozzle in. Now there's a couple of different schools of thoughts on this. You can do it hot and you can do it cold. Personally, I prefer to do it hot. It's a little bit more involved. You've got to be a little bit more careful, so you don't want to burn your fingers. But generally, if you work quickly and you work smart, you'll get it done. So assuming this is in place, this will move around when it's in your printer. You want to locate that to where it needs to be. So in my printer, it faces north-south to the relevance of the front of the printer. And then we insert the nozzle. And if it was hot, we're simply going to screw that in really quickly with our fingers, and we're going to try not to touch this bit because it's going to be a couple of 100 degrees. Now you'll notice that when I've screwed that in, the nozzle doesn't sit flush with the hot end. There's a gap there. Now if I back this one here off and wind this away from the end, you can see it does go all the way down. The problem now is that it's loose, and we talked earlier about having filament ooze out. That's why it oozes out. It just finds its way out of the thread under pressure and it works its way out. So ideally you want your nozzle to be a mil or so clear of the head, like that. So this will be in position, and then we simply do our nozzle up to the point where it's tight, finger tight, and then you would grab something like a pair of pliers. In my case I use these multi-grips to hold it because it allows me to get into multiple different angles, and then using a 7mm or 6mm depending on the size of your nozzle, we simply just tweak it up, and not too tight but snug fitting. We want it to be so that you've got to use a reasonable amount of pressure to get it to lock into place. And then once that's in and locked into place, just realised I went off camera, sorry, then, and it's hot, we know that it's all bound up and you're good to go, and it really is that simple. So again, you can see there's just a little bit of a gap in between the hot end and the nozzle, and that is perfectly aligned. So if that was back up inside your printer, that now is snugly fit to the heat break. The hot end is doing what it needs to do to get the heat through the filament, and it'll ooze out perfectly down the bottom. So replacing your nozzle is that easy, and it should be that easy. Make sure that you unload your filament first, take the old nozzle out, put the new nozzle in, and away you go again. And I can tell you from experience, these nozzles don't last forever. It's a consumable. It's something that needs to be replaced often, regularly. And the difference between having a good print and a consistent print is always having good new nozzles. 4mm, 6mm, 8mm, 1, 2, 1.2, whatever it is that you've got, that's fine. But keeping these replaced regularly is definitely key to having good, regular, consistent prints. So hopefully that helps explain to you how to do that in the future. If you've got any other questions, hit us up, www.aurarum.com.au.